So side topic, total side topic. I finished Naruto Shippuden yesterday, Weech.
Oh, you finished it? What did you think?
I cried for 20
Me too.
minutes.
Now,
And I had anime hangover. Bad.
do you know about Boruto?
I do. I'm not impressed.
Really? Oh, I like things that evolve. We talked about that the last time.
I feel about Boruto the same way I do about the cursed child with Harry Potter.
I can understand that.
It's just like
I like it when worlds evolve. But look, Naruto's Naruto for a reason, and I'll never enjoy it. But I like seeing.
I'm sorry, I will never ever stop trying to sell anime to Americans. So here it goes. So Naruto started in 1997, 1996, and it is so good that it just ended, and it ran for 17 seasons. Absolutely stunning, complex webbing. Like it puts all other television to shame.
Yeah, I got my friend hooked on that.
Yeah, like Naruto is. No, I do have a question. When you did that, good night, Karina. Get some sleep, please. when you started watching it, what year did you pick it up?
2007 is when a friend of mine introduced it to me. And he showed me like 3 episodes, and he did like usually this is such a turnoff, but he showed me like the middle 3. It was the episodes right before Shippuden began. So I saw Gaara, and I was like, "What's that guy doing?" And that's really cool. He can control sand. I'm from a desert. I want to control sand. Mm-hmm. And I saw that little story arc, and all I saw was like. I knew it had this breadth of story context, and I didn't know
that is something that anime really, really differs, and it's very similar to American television. There's no drama, which is weird because it's very adventurous and exciting, but it's not actually dramatic. Whereas American television is very dramatic. It really there's a lot of emotional back and forth, and who's sleeping with who, and it's just drama.
Okay, I see where you're going now. Yeah, I was like, no, I would say anime is very dramatic. No. You don't. You mean
action.
Yeah,
anime is very
I didn't mind watching. I watched Naruto
Shippuden.
Shippuden. I didn't mind the Japanese subtitles. The English subtitles for the Japanese. I was so involved in the story.
They're acting, and that's the other thing. And I love UK acting versus, and I'm sorry, UK acting, they had mastered the art of theater hundreds of years ago, and we're still learning it here in the States. So when you watch English acting, it is the greats, like Christopher Lee came out of there. John Lithgow came out of there. They are English trained, and it shows. Phenomenal acting. So when you sit down and watch English television, you are getting some pretty intense stuff. Anime does the same thing. When you watch American cartoons, everyone has to have a Batman voice. But when you watch anime, it is their natural voice, and there are moments I can still hear Naruto's voice. I understand what it is to be alone. And the reason why it's important to me is because I have never had family. I have never known anything other than loneliness, which is why I value our friendship far more. It's just, and he says it with, it's almost music. It's just gorgeous. It does draw you in. When they do the dubbing, they bring the Batman voices back in, and you can't take it serious. It's just terrible all over again.
That's why the Japanese voice with the English subtitle is so beautiful.
Yeah,
because
very.
You're getting the pure story.
Yeah.
See, that's the whole problem. That's the whole problem, and I wish, and I hope, and I pray this doesn't happen. You get commercialization involved in something good, and that's it. It just
that's the other way Japan handles their marketing. Yeah. Beautiful. Again, there is one break. It is an intermission. It's a 20-minute episode. And American cartoons, you get a 20-minute episode, and you get 5 minutes of activity and then commercial. 5 minutes and commercial. Whereas Japanese animation, you get 10 minutes, one break in every single anime, no matter across the board. You get that break, and then
it's an intermission.
Yeah, it is
I'm
an
talking.
intermission.
I'm talking about the indie community and the publishing. I'm talking about losing, like what happened to Star Trek, where you had great stories, you had great everything, and then
Do you think?
it became a cash cow for Paramount.
Yeah. Do you think Naruto and One Piece and Bleach turned into a cash cow? I think Bleach turned into a cash cow.
See, I'm weird though. I mentioned that I love things evolving. To me, Bleach and Supernatural, they were very self-contained stories. Supernatural to me ended at season 5.
Yeah.
When
but
the
they
story,
kept it going. But they kept it going.
Yeah, because someone's got to pay
Cash
rent.
cow. Yeah.
And I don't begrudge people eating. But I'm like, no.
At the sacrifice of the story. There it is. And
So
that's Star Wars.
So
Star Trek.
when the Vizar arc ended and the Arengard arc ended,
I haven't watched Bleach yet.
that's why
Yeah.
I said,
Just referring to the word, not anything else.
Yeah.
I said that is the end of the story. And anything they do now, I have been told by people I rely that they found and Supernatural came close.
Yeah.
But they fell back off. For me, it's when you tell the story and it's complete, and then you're writing for the sake of eating. I really think, like, I get it. I know what you mean.
Yeah.
But you gotta find somewhere to take the characters. You gotta find somewhere to take the narrative.
Right.
And if you don't, then let a great story end. Let a great story be the end. That's why
I think that's it with Naruto. They had a perfect ending. It did not go over. I hated the filler. The filler was just obnoxious. Japan does this thing with their anime where, again, this is different than our television, where and I actually give them kudos for this. They save their best artists, their best animation for their primary storyline and their fight scenes. So and it takes time. And UK and Japan both do this with their television. America will record an episode, air it, and record the next episode, air it. And Japan, and right now we are waiting for Doctor Who to begin on April 15th because they have to finish recording the entire season. But when it's done, and they blast the whole thing out at us. They did this in Netflix. Netflix is now picking this up, where series of unfortunate events, they record the whole thing, and then they give it to you in one huge, there it is.
Yeah.
And anime does the same thing, where they will record the entire season.
Fuller House.
Yeah, Fuller House.
Nostalgia.
Shame on you. And they will do the same thing with anime, where they will record a chunk of it and they'll catch it up. But the animators need to focus, or they'll need a break, and they need to really get into the nitty gritty scenes, and they want to do their best. And this is where I love anime more than anything because of this. So they will create these stories called filler. Their backstory usually that has nothing to do with the plot. Sometimes they're fun. Sometimes, in most cases, it's really aggravating because you want to get on with the story, but they're working on it. So they pass the story over. With Naruto, it was Shippuden. He's 17. And you get this massive, the Great War when he's 17. And you want to find out what's happening. Suddenly it breaks and it goes back to when he's 8 years old and 5. And they take off on a five episode story that gives you background on the character, but you don't care. You want to get back to the Great War when he's 17. But when you get back, the animation is like, it's hand-drawn with watercolor, but it may as well have been computer-generated. It is some like Avatar level. It is gorgeous animation. And
but I'll say this, the Shippuden fillers were far better than any of the original series fillers. The Shippuden fillers at least try to, like, they give you the history of the Three Tails and the Six Tails.
Yeah.
The Kakashi Guy Knight. I loved Itachi's story, but I'm a huge fan of Itachi.
Itachi, when they finally showed his face.
Yeah.
What was it? 900 episodes you don't see this character's face.
Oh, I want to see his face.
900 episodes. 2006, he shows up and you see this, like that. That's what you see.
Yeah.
And on occasion, he would bring the mask down and you would see this, and then it'd go back up again. So, you're going, and I remember early on in the original Naruto, they talk about what's under the mask. And he's got these huge lips. He's got, and huge teeth. And then finally, 900 episodes, they show you his face.
Wow.
It was a big deal.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was one of the best fillers. That was a filler worth watching.
So was he handsome or was he ugly?
He was just a normal guy, but
Right.
we've been wanting to see him for forever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
we didn't care anymore.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
just playing, just absolutely playing. And I was waiting for him to, as a wedding present to Naruto, take off the mask. It's like,
Yeah.
show Naruto. And it was really phenomenal. It really was.
Did you see the last Naruto movie?
I have not seen any of the movies yet. I have not seen a single movie. And it's
Look,
on my list to do some.
The last Naruto movie was a big payoff for me because
Mhm.
me and my friends, my friend got really mad at me because I called Madara or at least Toby.
Yeah.
I was like, that's Toby. No, I'm like, no, that's like,
You
and this was
figured
that was
it out.
in 2007. I'm like, that guy. But I thought of it like a storyteller. I go, let me tell you why they went back in time and showed you that story because that's Toby.
I wish I could explain. When you watch these things, I remember walking in, and the first thing I ever saw with anime, it was Naruto on the ghost ship when he's going to train with B.
Mhm.
And it was the ghost ship. It was just gorgeous. And I remember seeing the mist flowing over the deck. And I'm going, what is this? And I had to watch it. And my husband's like, oh no, you're going back to Naruto. You don't get Shippuden. You have to earn it.
You have to earn your Shippuden. You have to earn
Yeah,
it.
so I was
You gotta listen to 100 Believe
Yeah.
It's before I give you one episode.
yeah, I'm gonna be the Hokage. So I went all the way back to the beginning, and I'm like, okay, I can do this for Shippuden. But then the story, you don't have 17 seasons over 900 episodes without having a real story, and that's it right there. That's really what I want to talk about. It puts writing to shame. It puts the Harry Potter tales to shame. Imagine a story so big that it's on par with Tolkien every time, every single time. Death Note is as good as Tolkien. And it's One Piece does it. Death Note does it. Full
The end of Death Note really made me upset.
Oh!
Death Note is genius. It is. The
I
conflict.
I gotta stop here because this is story. You want to learn how to tell story, you watch anime.
I'm not lying. You are telling the truth.
Yep.
Death Note, you have a straight A student, perfect child in school, honor student, miraculous child. He finds a Death Note.
Oh,
Cut
geez.
to the underworld. There are these creatures. I can't remember what they're called. They're death spirits.
Shinigami.
Shimogani. And basically every one of them is assigned a notebook. And they are the keepers of death and life. You write a name in their death book and you will die. They write down how you die and you will die within 30 seconds. They're going to die on this date at this time with a heart attack. This is their explanation of how people die. One of them, Ryuk, was bored. So he took his death note and threw it into the mortal world. And Light Yagami, I can't remember his name, Light Yagami, found the death note. He went from being an honor student. What would you do if you had the power? So he sits down and you open it up and there's the instruction. Anyone's name who's written down will die. So the first episode alone, he's going,
No way.
it's a joke. Yeah, right. But then he goes, is it real? And if it's real, whose name should I write? Let's analyze this. Let's talk about the rules. Let's discuss. All right, well, if I'm going to do this, it has to be just bad guys. But I can't just write this down because if it's true, then what happens? I have to make sure the person whose name gets written down has earned it. So he goes out and he finds somebody. He finds a rapist. He writes the guy's name down, dead. Almost instantly. Runs into a car. He's like, interesting. Okay, coincidence. I need to try it again. But who is worthy? Who has earned being written down in the death note?
Right.
And within 3 episodes, is it? He is, whew. Like he goes corrupt. Well, no, now it's my duty. It's my job. I have to do that. I owe this to society to write people's names. All the criminals, they don't deserve to live. And here's the other thing. If I didn't have this right, the death note would never have come to me. So then Ryuk shows up and he watches how Light changes. Just bored. He just wants to see. So he just sits there and watches this evolution of Light as this perfect, wonderful student, son of the police, chief of police, becomes more and more corrupt. And you watch him cross every line, every rule, every law. And you're just sitting here going, when will it end? How far will this go?
Yeah, but to me, what makes Death Note so compelling is the no crap friendship and yet hatred between Light and L.
Oh, I'm sorry. L puts every villain, and this is really ballsy of me to say, and I'm going to say it. L puts every villain Shakespeare ever wrote to shame.
Oh boy.
L has got to be one of the most amazing characters. I say villain. I guess that's your opinion. Whose side is he on? And that's the other thing. Whose side are you on? L is a genius who really gives Light a run for his money, and it becomes a showdown between Light and L. And you don't know who's going to walk away at the end. If either of them, and it just, I'll tell you, they throw one turn after the other, and you cannot, there's only 25 episodes. That's the other thing that anime does, with the exception of Naruto, Bleach, and One Piece.
Dragon Ball.
And Dragon Ball. And Pokemon. With the exception of the large animes, most animes only last 20 episodes. So you are getting a lot of story crammed, like nail biting. Get through this. You can do this. It is intense storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we've lost.
Yeah, and no, we've lost it here. No, Japan has mastered this art form.
No. That's what I mean when I said that's what we being here.
Yeah. No, it is.
Because
I think it's coming back though, and I think Netflix is why.
Back. And I don't
Netflix is bringing storytelling back.
Yes, I think
look what it did. Look what it did with Travelers. It could have technically, it had the show from the Canadian show. It could have released it as an episodic. It waited to release the whole season. And you had more people. I binge watched it in 2 days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes.
And I don't binge watch.
Yeah, and that's just it. With anime, you don't just binge watch. You stop sleeping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you stop sleeping. Like, I watched 25 hours straight of Death Note. There was nothing else. I watched it.
Yeah.
I watched it from beginning to end. Same thing with High School of the Dead. High School of the Dead, that is a version of zombies from space. Without the aliens and without the vampires. It is, but it was done by the creators of Death Note. So
well, the thing that anime does and the thing that Doctor Who does, it's just hard though when you're working with that's why series are so big, because the real masters can take an hour. Like every time I watch an episode of Doctor Who, I'm like, okay, so it must be midnight. But it's only an hour because of the depth of the storytelling and the content of what they're doing.
That's it.
It's just, no, I can't do that yet.
Yeah.
I'm trying.
Yeah,
I need 10 books. I just need more time.
With the U.S., you watch a story, and it's, oh, good God. We'll watch one interesting thing, and it will take place over 4 days. Whereas Luffy's a great example of this. G8. Did you ever see the G8 arc?
Of which one?
Of One Piece, the G8 arc.
I have not actually seen One Piece.
All right, so I have to, this is my favorite arc. Whenever I'm sad, this is what I watch. Whenever I'm upset, this is what I watch. This is my always get me in a good mood. They're on Sky Island, an island in the sky. And their idea of getting off of this island in the sky, and they're in a ship, is by sailing it off the edge of the cloud with an octopus being used as a parachute. Well,
hello,
okay. Works. Yeah, it's out there. Stay with me. So physics, it works. The air compresses inside the octopus, and the octopus shrinks. It's a ship. The octopus finally gets too small, and they go, boom, and they crash land in the middle of this ocean. The ocean, they're pirates, illegal pirates with a bounty of about $500,000 or $500 million on all of their heads. Crash lands in the middle of a police force, the military.
Oh, jeez.
And there's no way out.
Right.
Now they got to get out. So they immediately, like, all the spotlights hit on. It's like a prison camp. They're like, yee, and they scatter. The first thing the police do is they go in and they completely strip the ship of all the treasure that they got on Sky Island. They're pirates. You can't do that. They got to get it back. So it becomes this game where the captain leads them into this, and the captain just wants food. He doesn't care. There's this one moment where the chef and the captain are paired up because they get split up. And you see the chef. He looks out the window. He looks around. He pops. And then the captain just walks on by like, dur, dur, dur. They go, they find food. And the captain spends all the time going, I'll leave when I want to. I'll just leave when I want to. And it becomes a showdown between the pirates in the military and how they're going to get out of it. And you know they're going to get out of it. It's just a matter of how. And it's just so funny. But yeah, anime is phenomenal story, but just it really, and it's a fantasy. One Piece is a fantasy.
But the thing that I believe in what I do. I believe in what I write.
Yeah.
But the trick, and not everybody does it, and sometimes it's a bias thing. All my favorite stories have a great cast of characters.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And when you create a cast and different people have different favorite characters, that's kind of what endears you to the story as a whole.
It is. Yeah, really.
The consequence between it is like, I love Wheel of Time, but if I'm reading and I get to a certain character,
yeah, that's it exactly.
I'm like, oh, not you.
And the best stories have the best characters. And I think, and I'm gonna beat this dead horse, and I'm sorry, but that's what I think anime has mastered.
Because they know how to connect you to
and love with a character within 2 minutes.
Yeah, and I just don't know how they do that though.
I don't. That's why I watch it, is to study it. Like, what are they doing with these characters? And I think I have figured it out. They give every one of their passionate characters a goal, a very clear dream, a very clear drive, a promise, a vow, and then a hardship. This is Luffy. Look at those eyes. No, seriously, those eyes.
Oh, Jesus, scary.
Oh yeah, this is when he's pissed. No, this is when he's pissed, and he's a scrawny little boy. The hat is his promise. The hat is absolutely his promise. And every one of his characters, I think Naruto, you see him. He's a scrawny. He's painting artifacts. He's vandalizing massive artifacts. And you think, oh, he's a little shit kid. I'm supposed to care about this little brat. Within 2 minutes, you find out that he has no friends. He is an orphan. He has no family. He lives alone. He is acknowledged and hated by everyone in the village. So right there, you feel sorry for him. And the first thing he says is, you're going to acknowledge me. I'm somebody. You need to listen to me. So What does the brat do? He steals one of the most ancient artifacts, which is a forbidden scroll with a forbidden spell. And he runs off with it. But then turns out he was lured and hoodwinked and tricked into doing that by a horrible villain. And the only person who scolds him, and the only person who takes the time to reprimand him and discipline him, and the only person who even gives a shit about this boy, goes after, it's his teacher, Iruku. And he takes after Naruto, hunts down the villain, beats the crap out of the villain. But it's what he says. After he beats the crap out of this villain, the villain starts, well, he's just a brat. And the teacher starts yelling at the villain and starts explaining, no one thinks that this kid is anything, but he is something. And what you don't know, what he doesn't know, is Naruto is listening to it all. And you see this little 5-year-old boy holding onto the scroll. I'm going to cry. And he just starts crying because no one ever cared about him. And afterwards, he learns the spell. You see this useless little boy, and suddenly he can do the world's most powerful spell. And the teacher, after the fight is over, the teacher picks up the boy and says, let's go for some ramen. And he takes him to this little shop, and for the first time in his little life, somebody cares.
Yeah.
And I'll take 20 minutes, and you love that boy. You will love that boy for the rest of your life. 20 minutes. I only wish I could write that well.
Yeah, well, I mean, and that's the magic trick. There are stories and books and tales that I'm like, one day I will get there.
Yeah.
I think most people, I think we're all there.
And Harry did it.
We got one. We got one guy. We got one character that someone will latch onto, and until I'll speak for myself, until I reach a point to where all my characters are genuinely real characters, generally motivated characters.
Yeah.
The best I can do is come up with an interesting arc or a cool moment, and look, people, that'll compel compel people, and that'll start the journey. But the goal is, I think Peter V. Brett does it.
Yeah.
I think in a different sort of way, George R. R. Martin does it. And I think I think Peter V. Brett does it better than anyone.
I think it really is. I think it really is that falling in love with that character. You have to love that character. You have to love them hard. You have to love them fast. Harry Potter does it. You meet that boy. You meet him as a little child, 1 year old. His parents are dead. And then you see him living in that little cupboard.
Yep.
And you fall in love with him. Empathy, maybe empathy, sympathy is where it starts.
We talked about, I blog about this a lot because I love doing character studies. And because I rip these people off, I develop sliders. So when I do my drafts, I have sliders. You have sympathy, proactivity, competence, and power. Those are my sliders. And you want progress. You want progress for what's going on. But one thing I'll say is, love isn't necessarily like, if you go back to Naruto, I hate Neji. I hate him. I hate him for what he did for Hinata.
Yes.
I smile. And look, he made good at the end, but I'm like, no, screw you, because it took you 10 years to make this right.
Neji that was actually, there was a lot of morals that I had issues with in Naruto. There are clans, and Hinata is the heir to the family clan, and her cousin Neji was charged with, the whole clan is charged with protecting the heir and the heir's father. And this isn't a king, but this is just a family name, the Hyugi family, and they have clanships in the family. You find out later that Neji's father's killed on a mission, and when it's revealed as to why, it's because he took the place of the king, Hinata's father, who was supposed to die in his place. But because he was vowed to protect the head of the family, he died. So Neji developed a bit of a problem with Hinata, because if it weren't for Hinata and Hinata's father, he would have his dad. So he attacks Hinata and tries to kill her. I think he tried to kill her, but he's branded magically, and that's part of their magic system. You want to talk about magic systems. Naruto and One Piece have a really warped magic system. The magic system comes into place and it seals him, so he's left with a brand on his forehead that will never allow him. It's almost like a chain where he can never again hurt Hinata or step out of line. And I say I loved his story, and I empathized with the boy. I
loved his story, but see, that's why when I talk to people about sympathy, one of my proteges, I was talking about, like, you don't have to love the character. The worst thing people can feel about your character is indifference.
Right.
What you need is, you need to feel strongly about the character.
See,
you need to either really hate them or you need to really love them, but you must have an emotional reaction to a character, or that character doesn't work.
And I'm going to go to Kalon for a moment. The reason why I put her in the cave and tortured her is because no one cared. No one cared. The reason why I added the early scene where this boy comes out, I don't think it's a spoiler, so I'm going to describe it. They're supposed to be meeting for a holiday, the two clans. There's two kingdoms. They're supposed to be coming together for this holiday. It's a pre-Easter holiday called Astromonath. And there is a murder that happens that sparks rage in the king. So he goes off and slaughters these women and children, 300 just slaughtered. Colin and her father come upon the ruins, and you just see this bloodshed. There's just mutilated people and corpses all over the place. Women, children, everybody. And one of the characters, a boy, comes out of the crowd. I had to go to a very dark place to write this. Comes out of the corpses carrying his younger brother, who his mother on her dying bed in the massacre had said, "Watch your brother." So this boy walks out of the massacre, carrying his mangled brother, and his guts have been like they're spilled out. There's just nothing left. The boy is dead. But the older brother is so far gone, he cannot acknowledge the fact that his brother is dead. So he goes over to Colin, who has healing powers, and he starts to beg her to heal the boy. And it's just too late. He's gone. So she tells him this, and the boy immediately accuses Colin of not saving his brother. And he's just broken. Colin is just, no, I'm taking him in. This is going to be what I do. She takes the boy in, and that is the start of her building up a kind of orphanage in the city, is because she's constantly trying to atone for the fact that she cannot save this boy. Then, when I throw her in a cave and torture the heck out of her, that is when people care. But people didn't care until I put that boy with the singing.
Yep.
It was really interesting to watch people change to that when I added that.
So what I did when I started looking at this is I learned from Writing Excuses, the podcast, various ways. I adapted it to work for me, and everyone should.
Mm-hmm.
But then what I did is I worked by watching lots and lots of anime and TV shows and reading books that I like, and I realized all my favorite characters have two things in common. They're incredibly sympathetic.
Yeah.
And they're incredibly proactive.
And that's one more thing. And Harry does this. Luffy does this. Naruto does this. All three boys are in horrifically horrible circumstances. And no, regardless of their situation, they are still very, very kind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so as long as you give me, and one thing I realized in my last few books is I kind of went to that well a lot. So just to grow as a storyteller, because Neji is a compelling character, and that's when I realized sympathetic doesn't necessarily, in my opinion, mean likable. It means you feel strongly about them. So you have this really unlikable character that you watch evolve to someone who's compelling. I think the best example of this, in my opinion, is Jaime Lannister. Book 1 of Game of Thrones, I would never have believed, like, I still hate him. I still want him to die a horrible death. But it bothers me because I understand him better now.
I'm that way with Batman. No, I really am. In all seriousness, talking about Batman, even though Iron Man is better, I get him. There is a depth, there is a darkness to him, there is I hate him. There is so much I hate about Batman, and he is very realistic.
Yeah.
There is some really very much truth. I think there's a lot of Batman that a lot of us can relate to. He is the bad situation, and he went bad himself. Things are not good. And I don't view him as a good guy. I don't view him as, and I think this is where, and I'm trying to figure out without spoilers, the Lego movie really hit it on the head. No spoilers. When I was done with that movie, it reaffirmed that, yeah, he's a bad guy. I really do believe he's the bad guy. Because a good guy would not do 90% of the crap that Batman does. Which is why Iron Man is better.
But that you guys, I've been sitting here listening to you guys, and you've hit on very, very, very interesting points. It's the fact that good characters, no matter how they're written, are written to invoke an emotional response, and it's that emotional response that creates a character, that creates the connection. I remember when Star Trek: The Next Generation came out, and I had a hard time watching the first few episodes, not because they were ripping Star Trek off, but because of how the characters or how the actors were tentative in the roles they were playing. They were playing them safe. They were playing them like, cardboard figures just because they didn't want to offend the fans. But when they got into the characters, when Riker grew his beard and Picard grew his spine, you got to see the depth of the characters. You got to see the, Worf is a great example. He went from this grunting Klingon to this full-blown noble warrior. Somebody who you expected. Somebody who you expected when they got thrust into the Sherwood Forest by Q, and he says,
I love that.
I'm not a merry man.
I am not a merry man.
It
I
makes
love
sense.
the bow striking Data.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotten better. And then my favorite ultimate plink, 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 plink.
Yes, Maggie,
And
I
Borg just
know.
walks over, picks up that loot, smashes it. Sorry.
And the episode I really like is when Picard is turned into a child.
That one was good.
I don't remember that.
Oh no, half the crew was turned into it. It was Picard and
okay.
it was the security officer, the woman. It was Whoopi Goldberg's character.
It was Picard, Guinan, Ro, and Keiko.
Yeah.
See,
But you want to know the one that'll get me every time? I will weep every time. Was the one where Picard was sent to basically he lived the normal life on this planet. With the one where he learned to play the
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about that now, and I might have to turn my monitor off.
Yeah.
It shatters me every time I see that episode.
No, it was even 5 episodes, 10 episodes later, 20 episodes later, he still plays that loop. And it's just that little reminder. The other thing is when he goes Borg and back. And that is why Picard is better than Kirk. Is because he goes Borg and back. But this is the gorgeous thing. I hate shallow characters. I hate when they neglect psychology and story.
Right.
You don't go Borg and back without consequences.
Right. No, and you could see it by that episode where
the fact that he walked away with PTSD, the fact that he walked away with some serious issues. I'm sitting there watching him going, yeah.
And that's the problem with some of the storytelling of regular episodic television, like Hawaii Five-0. Okay, the guy's shot.
Mm-hmm.
The next minute he's fighting the bad guys. Why is he not feeling pain? Why is he not feeling the after effects of why? I mean, where's the realism?
Yeah, and that's just it.
I'm not saying we need every detail, because we don't need to see the gross details.
That
but we need to feel the psychology of the moment. We need to feel the psychology of, the character hurting.
That's it. That's it with Iron Man. He does that.
Yeah, the character not being able to, not being able to function. I remember, when they did PSTD with Iron Man. That was a wonderful.
Yeah.
It was a wonderful movie.
The fact that it was like he fights the aliens in one movie, but it's the second movie. It's that third Iron Man movie that you see him having some serious issues with it. And yeah, absolutely. That is human. That is human. Whereas I think Batman is just stuck in denial.
Yeah.
And he never gets out of that.
Yeah.
Well, I have a lot of problems with Batman. My problem with DC in general is they are too unrealistic for me.
Yeah. That's it exactly.
None of them make any sense to me. I'm Superman. So you're telling me that this implantable, ultra-powerful, laser I-beam having dude was raised on Earth and he didn't throw one temper tantrum?
Bullshit.
Not one.
Thank you. The other thing
Not one.
is he's equated to an autistic child.
Mm-hmm.
Hypersenses, oh God, I cannot imagine his world and then having to deal with that. Again, they had the fantastic opportunity to make him very human, and they didn't. They didn't, and it just squandered opportunity. Yeah, it's definitely the human element that really allows you to connect. And it's redundant. We've said this, and we will always say this. It is the human element. It is the empathy. It is the sympathy. It is the suffering and remaining human through the suffering that leads to us loving the character.